So boom, logged into musicandjuice.com. We've managed to sneak a interview with the grime specialist himself, Ghetts FM's Logan. Recently, MTV's Best of the Best, top 10 MCs in the UK. The list came out. It's debatable in grime. Now, you was on the panel for this list. Do you feel like the list is an accurate indication of the best UK MCs for the year 2010?
No.
Who do you think should have been on that list if it was Logan Sama's choice?
The thing is, right, when you use the words best MCs, like, that means something a lot different from what they actually asked us to judge the criteria on. So if you ask Tiny Temper, does he think he is the best MC in the UK, I very much doubt you he will say yes, I am the best MC in the UK. But he had the biggest year in 2000. He had the biggest record in the world. You know, Dizzy Rascal did loads of great stuff as well in 2010, broke down a lot of doors, you know, big performances at Glastonbury, was the first ever UK rap act to win a Brit Award, like, done a lot of stuff, and still had 2 #1 records, had the fastest selling single, and Tongue in Cheek finally went platinum as well. But, you know, Tiny Temper went from a obscure MC that was, you know, known in the grime scene to being like the biggest urban act in the whole fucking country in the space of a year.
Yeah.
So when you're judging it on stuff like that, and then you go into other things like, you know, impact. Basically, the way I looked at the list was, what did they do in 2009, and where did they end up at the end of 2010?
Yeah.
So who made the most progress based on their position? So like P Money and DEE, for me, in 2010, I was seeing their tunes getting played in every rave by DJs that were not playing grime before. Do you know what I mean? I see P Money go from a guy that I've seen do bookings for £200 to getting £1,000 a booking now. I've seen DEE go from, you know, supporting Dizzy on tour to, you know, headlining raves himself, and again getting that big P in for bookings. You know, Street Fighter Rhythm was a tune that got played around the world. They all, you know, Street Fighter and Slang got played on Radio 1. You can't argue with that. But, you know, if you're looking at best MCs, even people argue what the word MC means. You know what I mean? Is a guy that rap an MC? You know, in the UK, are rappers MCs? Obviously, in America, if you rap, you're an MC raps. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. But over here, people think that, you know, I had people message me on Twitter, how can you have Giggs in the list? He raps, he's not an MC. Like, in their mind, a lot of people think, you know, MCs are guys that spit bars in raves, and rappers are the guys that do hip-hop. Whereas if you asked someone that's came from the UK hip-hop scene, is Giggs an MC? Of course he is. Personally, for me, I think putting people in lists in order is a load of old fucking bollocks, waste of time, and I just care who had a good year. That's what I care about. And obviously, Ghetts will always be one of the best fucking MCs in the country. So will Kano. And neither of them were in that list. But if you ask any MC, like, who's actually sick, I'm sure they would definitely all say Ghetts, and they'd probably most all say Kano as well.
Yeah. Now, like, Ghetts basically took over Twitter, for those that ain't on Twitter, at The Real Ghetts. Do you feel like his reaction to the list was justified?
No. I think it was an over-the-top reaction. I think that he knew it was an over-the-top reaction as well, which is why when it came to recording the tune, he was a lot calmer. When he recorded the tune, he was a lot calmer, and he went to stating his opinion. Like, originally he was angry at the panel, angry at this, angry at that, and I think after taking time to think about it after the first day, you know, he looked at it and actually started to break down who was on the list, and even break down the concept of the list. Like I said to you, when you say best MC, that doesn't mean the person that had, you know, the most #1 singles, because, you know, then you start getting into some funny world. But I think it shows you, you know, like, the power of hype and as long as you back it up with product. Because Ghetts could have just gone wild on Twitter and shouted and tweeted and cussed and this and that, but the fact that he actually went and did a tune and did a video for it meant that he backed up all that hype and interest with product. You know, and then he's gone today. He's just put another video up. You know, but I don't know when this interview will go up. But you know, within the space of 2 days of the original tune going up, he's done another tune and another video. So I think what he's seen is that people respond to excitement, but they also respond to pushing your product properly. And you know, having singles is more important in terms of recognition within the industry than having a technically good CD, because most people in the music industry these days are lazy and they don't want to listen to more than 3 tunes. So you can have a 15-track CD, which is a fucking amazing piece of work, but if you ain't pushing 2-3 singles off of it, you will not get the recognition that a man that recorded 2 tunes all year and put them out and did it properly and really pushed them and got them played. And that shows you what happened with the MTV list. Anyways, it's MTV based, like, do you know what I mean? It's not an underground, it's not a grime list, it's not an underground MC list, it's not a technical ability list, it's with MTV base. You know, if you watch MTV base, you know what sort of music they're playing on MTV base, so you know what MCs are going to be in the list. And obviously, Ghetts was angry not to be included in something that was called Best MCs of 2010. I can entirely appreciate the fact that when you look at the name of what that list was, and then to not include him, it makes sense to be angry, because he should be in the list of people who are the best spitters of 2010. But obviously it was for MTV base, and it was based around, you know, people that put tunes out and the profile they got off the back of it and the impact they made, you know, on a wider market in 2010. And that's pretty much what the list represented in the end.
I feel like you've definitely got to salute the people on the list. You know, they've worked very hard for where they are, and to get into a list like that.
To be honest with you, bruv, like, I really don't care who's better than who's in at 3 and who's in at 7 and all this shit. I care about who had a good year, who worked hard, who's got talent. Do you know what I mean? Who's good at what they do? You know, Tiny Temper is good at what he does in a completely different way from Giggs is good at what he does. You cannot really compare what Tiny Temper does and what Giggs does. It's so, you know, it's so abstract that it's ridiculous. You know, you can't compare what Professor Green and DEE do, because it's fucking worlds apart. The fact that they're just not singing on a beat links them all together is a bit of a silly concept. Everyone talking about a load of artists that don't normally get talked about, and you know, it's an amazing thing that right now we're in a position where there's like 40 artists that you consider to put in a top 10 UK MCs list, whereas like in 2005 there was probably about 5.
I mean, do you almost feel like the situation has benefited Ghetts?
100%. Like, in many ways it's benefited Ghetts in terms of getting hype and attention from not only the fans that he's got already, but he's definitely got a lot of attention from the industry. But it's also benefited him, I think, that he sat down and analysed what he did in 2010, really given it some thought, and realised what he needs to do in 2011. Because Ghetts is a guy that's really fucking talented, has been talented for years. Like, I've known him since 2003. He was fucked in 2003. He's still fucked now. But a lot of the guys that have been in and around, you know, his circle have progressed further within the mainstream music industry than him. And, you know, personally, I would never like to see Ghetts making the sort of music that will get daytime radio play, like in terms of pop number ones. That's not why I like him. I like him because he's fucking hard on the mic, spits fire bars on the microphone. But, do you know what I mean? I would like to see him also get a bit more mainstream credibility in terms of making good music, you know, that's still viable on the underground, that's still respected by his core fan base, and pushing that music, you know, hopefully to a wider audience that can get played on Radio 1. Maybe not in the daytime, but the specialist stuff, and he does start getting the recognition that his talent does deserve.